Joining us now, the chairman of the Faith and Freedom Coalition, Ralph Reed. Ralph, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, David. Good to be here.
You have got to tell me about this organization, because I got to tell you, I mean, for voters that where faith is important, I mean, this is must-see coalition TV, if you will. Tell me a little bit about how people can get involved in this exam.
Well, after looking at the 2008 election results, where frankly we really just got our clocks cleaned on the ground, and I've always been about grassroots. I've spent 25 years organizing, not exclusively, but an awful lot of faith-based voters, Roman Catholic, observant Jew, evangelical, Protestant. I just thought that we just couldn't wait for the Republican cavalry to show up and do it anymore. I worked on both Bush campaigns. We saw about a 40% increase in the evangelical vote from 04 to 08. I mean, excuse me, from 00 to 04, but then in 08 it was flat. And we lost a net of 10 points on that vote to Obama. And I just felt that if we allowed that to go on, you know, indefinitely, that it was a recipe for permanent minority status for conservatives, regardless of what Republican fortunes look like. So last summer I founded the Faith and Freedom Coalition. I guess the best way I would describe it is sort of a 21st century version of the Christian Coalition on steroids. Married with MoveOn.org with a sprinkling of the NRA. We've now got the Citizens United case, which allows organizations like ours to not just distribute voter guides and scorecards that compare how the candidates stand on issues or how they voted on legislation, but we can, where we so choose, within the parameters of whatever regulations the Federal Election Commission ultimately promulgates, engage in express advocacy, that is, advocating the election or defeat of candidates, same as a corporation or a labor union. So we're up right now to about, 100,000 members and activists. We've got already 15 state organizations up from, California to Florida, and I think it's going to be a major force for good to harness a lot of the grassroots energy that's out there right now.
What's the end game here? Is it about turnout of the faith community and others? What exactly is it in terms of affecting the 2010 midterm elections?
I really see it as a permanent fixture on the American political landscape that really holds both political parties accountable. I think that the Republicans lost their way, particularly with regard to spending. And I think the Democrats have lost their way on a whole range of issues, from spending to the war on terror, to values and life and marriage. And so what's interesting about this is that it's really a synthesis of the traditional fiscal wing of conservatism and social conservatives. I believe that you can marry those two, because I think ultimately freedom is indivisible. I don't think you can have a strong economy if you don't have strong families, marriages, and people living by the golden rule. If you don't have people, David, who operate according to the golden rule and according to basic internal values of right and wrong, you end up with things like the crisis on Wall Street, which was not just a fiscal crisis, let's be clear. It was also a crisis of a lot of people gaming the system, a lot of people over-leveraging in debt, violating a lot of basic biblical principles of a sound economy. So I really think we can synthesize those two agendas, and that's what I'm trying to do with Faith and Freedom Coalition.
What about the Tea Party movement and where Faith and Freedom Coalition come together, if you will? I mean, because the Tea Party movement has pretty much been branded as fiscal conservative is the mantra going forward. Where do social conservatives fit into not just your group, but as you try to, I don't want to use the word merge, but as you try to synthesize both groups to come together as one big force here?
Well, we have an awful lot of the Tea Party organizers who are active in Faith and Freedom. I think 2 of the 5 or 6 National Steering Committee members of the Tea Party Patriots are personal friends of mine that I've worked with, I don't know, for 10 or 15 years. They both happen to be from my home state of Georgia. And so, those friendships and that cooperative relationship predates the Tea Party movement. I was at, I guess, the largest Tea Party in the country in April of last year, which was in Atlanta. Sean Hannity was there. I think we had, whatever the dominant media reported, there were at least 25,000 people there. And I'm excited about it. And I'll tell you something, David, you know this because you've covered it, that an awful lot of those Tea Party patriots are social conservatives. So again, it really isn't an either or. People are beginning to realize that if you want really good employers, business owners and employees. You want people who you don't have to watch over to make sure they're not doing something unethical. And conversely, I think social conservatives are realizing if you protect marriage and you protect life, but the federal government is destroying our future through a $20 trillion debt, you know, that threatens our future just as much as moral decay does. These are all moral issues. I've never thought that the moral or cultural agenda was narrowly defined to just 2 or 3 issues. I think taxes, spending, economic issues, and by the way, including the war on terror. I mean, that to me is an issue of right and wrong and whether or not America is going to be an arbiter of combating evil and extending freedom to people who haven't known it around the world.
Ralph Reed, thank you so much.
You bet.
If the Democratic Party has lost its way, there's